We have also gone through that same pains for over 500 years now. Families that you were stolen from have never known peace. Our doors are always open that one day you pass through and say, I am back home. My ancestors never saw your return.
Guys, if this is your first time watching my video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank
To the
you.
door, we will be observing a minute of silence for all our brothers and sisters who lost their lives during the trip. In perfect peace. And all of us here will respond by saying, Ashe. Ashe basically means, may it come to pass. So please, a minute of silence. Sometimes I even wish I never asked a question like that. Some even throw it at me. And I tell them, I am Kofi. I did nothing. Then later, they apologize and we are sorry. But I always tell them, you don't need to apologize to me. Because I have never been in your shoes. So I wouldn't understand you better. But maybe, if I was to be in your shoes, maybe I would have even done worse. So because of that, I have always remained at the side of the diasporas than the continental Africans. You know why? They taught us to love. They taught us to love everyone, irrespective of where everyone is coming from. So if this was what we were taught, then what went wrong? Now this topic has become a very sensitive topic. You want to know why I showed you, but I'm also not ready to speak about it. But I'm the same person that keeps calling you to come back home because you belong to us. The work is for us, the continental Africans, to make sure that this topic is properly addressed. That is why I asked Kofi, I don't know how many more years I have to spend on this earth. The continental African never suffered any pains. After all, we sent you away. So in all my life, that was what I believed in until I came across a research that was conducted. And the findings of this research stated that the pains felt by our forebears, that same pains could be felt in us. Which means you and I share a particular pain. But for me, Kofi, I didn't know which pain that was. So I embarked on a personal journey. So it was a spiritual journey I started. I locked myself in the room for so many days, just trying to have that clarity. But I cannot give references to spirituality. But I always rely on the book that I read. The Transatlantic Slave Trade, Landmark, Legacies and Expectations by Professor J.U. Akwanda. Now in that book, the professor made a very interesting revelation about the trade. 9% of us have been blamed for the pains that was caused by 1% to you. But I'm scared of how you're going to respond to me. Likewise, you also see me as your son. But the history surrounding me doesn't even allow you to even trust me. And that I wanted you all to know is that if you really want to understand this journey that you have embarked on, then you first need to understand our pain. If you don't understand our pain, you don't need to come back here and we don't read you. Then somebody asked me, you're making me confused. Because you're the same group that sold us. So why are you saying this to me? And I said, I am going to put my pains or our pains. You don't know. The two, which one would you go for? I have already had a research on this topic. 837 sample size. 86% of my respondents went for closure. Because according to them, they can't stay a day of not knowing where their loved ones are. They're prolonged, but when they have the body, it is very, very, very painful. But at least they know where they kept the body. They could always go to the graveside. Because of the pains of not knowing. Have you really thought about the 99% continental Africans? Those Africans that have their brothers and sisters in you, stolen and taken away from us? Nobody brought to us your dead bodies. for us to have closure. We have been through the same pains you don't want to go through. We have also gone through that same pains for over 500 years now. Families that you were stolen from have never known peace. Our doors are always open, open that one day you pass through and say, I am back home. My ancestors never saw your return. That is why I said your journey here today is a spiritual journey. You have never planned to be here. No. It has already been planned for you. That is why I keep telling you that the best thing you could do to yourself today involves loving our unity and loving our freedom. But things decided to change when a little bit of greed started setting in our people. When a community is good in farming and they don't have the lands to farm, they need to migrate to get to a place that they could get the land that they could work on. But whenever the migration set in, there are always indigenous groups living on that land. So before you could get a place to settle, you need to fight. They became prisoners of war. But in the system of the African war, the system of the British of war, I can choose to eliminate all of them. But the African system did not. It's where they have rights, they have privileges, they have their own children, they have their own life. So this indentured servitude was where the reconciliation started. Because after the war, there should be a reconciliation. So if this indentured servitude was thrown to them, they had a chance and they intermarried. So the Akans married the Fantis married the Bonos, so we married among ourselves. And the history and the topic of slavery became the thing of the past. Because how would you call me if I'm a slave? And I've married somebody who is not a slave, and we have given birth to somebody, how do you call us? So that name of slavery became the thing of the past. So in the 1400s, that was when the first Europeans landed on the coast of Ghana. When they landed here, they gave us names. They named us and they named our country. Immediately they saw you, they named us the children of the sun. Why would they ever name us the children of the sun? Because the sun easily smiles on our skin, but they couldn't take the energies and the strength from the sun. They also named our country the Gold Coast because Ghana we have abundance of gold on the planet. The Portuguese took thousands ounces of gold annually, which could today make up of 20% world gold, was stealing on this land of Ghana. So when they started stealing everything, other European countries also saw it, and they said, if the Portuguese are also here, why don't you also come back? So the Swiss, the Danes, the French, the German, everyone trooped to the Gold Coast. Ghana was having 550 kilometers of coastline, all the way from the western region to the Volta region. These Europeans captured all the coastline and they built over 40 forts and castles. In Africa, we had over 60 forts and castles, but Ghana alone could boast over 40 of them. So when they captured all the coast, in the western part of Ghana, they built Fort Hollandia, Fort Dekos. In the middle central region, they built Cape Coast Castle, Elmina, Fort Jago, Fort Williams, Fort Amsterdam. In the Greater Accra region, they built the Cristobal Castle, Jamestown Usher Fort, all the way to Fort 3000 at Volta region. So they captured everywhere. But after capturing everywhere, in the 1630s, when the first Africans were documented to have landed in the New World, they also decided that, okay, if we have captured the coast, then why don't we capture the interior? Because it is the interior that could feed the coast. So in the interior, Ghana alone was documented to have had 63 slave markets. 57 of this market was managed by the Europeans. Talaga, Jelejele, Techimanso, Bonomanso, Techima, so many of these markets. But of all these markets, one historian, in the person of Professor Akosia Dumapebi, in a book entitled The History of the Indigenous Slavery in Ghana, from the 15th century market, which became the busiest of the market, is where we are now at Assin Manso. So when I read about the book, I said, no, why would over 63 markets? She only speaks about 2 markets. So I decided to do more search. And all the books that I read, they all spoke about only these 2 markets. Yorubas, the Fons, and the Evers. We have the Gold Coast, which is made up of people of Ghana and the tribes in Ghana. And we have the West Central Africa, which is made up of those that were coming from the Colonial region. So captives that were captured from all those places, wherever you are captured, they had to walk in chains and shackles. Barefoot spirit that was with us. This spirit was so special. It was this spirit that kept us. They walked for 680 miles to go through the water until they came across the river. Now, when they saw the river, the first thing that came in mind is let's drink from the river. Because we've walked without this, without. When they got in there, they had a little bit of belief that at least water is life. So let's just get our water and just see what God will have for us. But you know, none of them drank from this river. The only persons that drank from the river were those that drowned in the river. It was where our first sorting out took place. When they got to the river, those of our ancestors who were seen not stronger, a cannonball as big as size of a football, is connected to their shackles, and they were thrown in there to drown and die. Every 31st day of July, we always go to that river at night to observe a vigil and mourn our forebears. Because once upon a time, those that established this place were those that were captured and enslaved. They landed here at the market. They were very, very tired. The market goes all the way to the community. But the reason why this place has been confined to have been the slave cemetery within the slave market. From the edge of the ground all the way to the river, everywhere here. Yes, unconsciously, you've already paid your respect. The few ones that came here, they were given food to eat. Broken bottles was used in shaving them, just for them to look attractive. Speculum oris is a device. It was placed into their mouth, open their mouth, count their teeth to forecast their ages. They were made to walk like orphans to the river in order to take their last bath. At the riverside, they went to their auction and they went to their branding. But those that could not stayed on the front. But those that could landed at the 7 dungeons. Now I'm going to give you some assignment to do for me. Please do this for your brother. When you get to the dungeons, your brother, your ancestors are so confused. Because the God we knew was a good God. The God we knew was a loving God. The God we knew was a God that forgives. That was a God your ancestors knew. But when they got to the dungeons, they saw a different God. Right on top of the dungeons, there was a church. The Society for the Propagation of the Gospel. Today, the Anglican Church. Whilst the pastor was preaching God is good all the time, there was a tunnel that leads the church all the way to the dungeons so that the pastor could see people dying beneath, but yes, to this pastor will preach what God said. So our ancestors in there were questioning themselves. Is this a God that we know? But please, when you get there, tell them that is not the God we know. But the God that they saw was not a God. Maybe they saw the Antichrist. Because the God you know cared them about it. They stayed in there for 3 months. They were awaiting the return of the slave ship. In 3 months' time, the slave ship arrived. Then your ancestors have to go onto a new one. They need to go through a door before they enter the slave ship. And I guess you know the name of this door. The door of no. I am sure that door will be the most difficult door our ancestors ever crossed. Because it is a door that is basically telling you that when you go back, you go through it, you're never going to come back. But they have to go all the way to the new world. But you know that this door of no return is not just a door. It is not just a door. It was a direct policy from the Europeans. And their policy was simple. Let us make sure that this group of people that we want to make sure they don't come back. So it all started at the door of no return. That was where they took away the most important part of us. Immediately they took it away from us. they won the game. And you know what that is? You know? Our names. With African naming system, you don't have a choice. You were given life assignment. Your name should connect with your community, your destiny, and your clan. So I might not know these brothers of mine. Away from you, where do you start? How do you know where you are coming from? I am a typical example of my name. My name is Kofi Ameni. Ameni means a river. In all my academic credentials, I have my master's in human resource management, master's in African studies. I have never seen myself to work with a river. But my name being a river, today I manage as a facility manager and I manage a river. I am sure you've also watched this movie, The Root. This man was beaten to the point of death just for him to denounce one thing, his name. Just his name, nothing more, nothing less. It was beaten to the core. Just why? Why would a man need to denounce his name first before he will have his freedom? Because that name tells him where he's coming from. Today we all know where this man comes from. And all his ancestors knew where they came from because of this man. But in that era of your forbearance, the pain was so much on them. So they had to let go of their own names just to acquire on themselves their slave names, just so that we have a little respite. But sometimes if I offend someone, forgive me. The day we acquired on ourselves our slave names, that was the day we became inferior. Because there's a saying that you cannot fight and win the person that named you. So if that saying is true, who named you? Is your name, or is the name a name of a slave owner? So if your name is the name of a slave owner, how can you fight and win? That is why if you could look, if I get married to you and we give birth, we name our child, right? And we have the sole right to write the biography of our own child. That is why for the past 400 years now, they have been writing our own story. They have been giving us their history for us to read. Because they believe in their mind that because they have their names on us, they own us and they can write about us. The time has come. We need to detach ourselves from those things. And we need to be able to tell our own story. Because if the lion doesn't have its own storyteller, the answer would always be correct. If these people can write, we can write better. And if they can lie, we can also lie better. Oh yes. So the time has come for us to change the narrative and tell our own story. But in order for the story to be told, a curse needs to be broken first. That door needs to be changed to the door of because words are very powerful. But the question is, how can this door of no return be changed to the door of return? She saw herself as a slave. She rather preferred to die than to become a slave. While she was in prison in Kingston, Jamaica, she was the first female who decided to starve herself to death in order to push for the abolishment of the slave trade. But she endured the worst punishment of her life when she had her teeth all chiseled out in an attempt to force her to feed. The pains was so much on her to bear. In 1830, she lost her life. And according to historians, when she was about to pass on, this was the only thing she said: "Bring me back home someday." I am not sure she knew she would, but some way, somehow, her remains were brought back. In the middle is someone in for education, landed in the US Navy, served with all his strength and might, died at the age of 35 years. Whilst he was serving America, he was seen as an American. The first day of July 1998, the two remains of our ancestors re-entered the country through the infamous door of no return at the Cape Coast Dungeons. Immediately they came to that door, the name on that door was forever changed to the door of return. And the door was made bigger, symbolically. Those of you that will be coming back home will be more than those that were stolen. And the following day, being the 1st of August 1998, the two were buried here. And that is why we celebrate our Emancipation Festival every 1st of August. Now, fast forward to 2019. It's all the way from Barbados. And that's the third to be seen right there. Immediately after the burial, groups also petitioned that they also wanted to be buried here. So, those also that have their ashes were given the chance to be buried here. And that is why you can see them. Or we have 513 ashes on the stand. Now we're going to make a short walk to. We'll be walking on the ancestral path. We are walking on the path that was developed by the feet of our ancestors. For our ancestors, they walked to and from this path. River. They never knew where they were going. But when they were getting closer, they hear the sound from the river. For some, they said to themselves, we could drink from the water. For some, we could just throw ourselves in there and get drowned to death. For some, it was just an escape route for them. They didn't know what awaited them. So they would be flooded. When they came down in here, and on this same land, they went through their options and they went through their plan. Those that could not continue the journey are those that remain on this land. Today, we are coming back. They are so surprised because they never even believed that there's going to be a day today that their children would ever come back. But they keep telling us about rivers because they put them in our Negro scriptures. Whenever they sing, they see that river. So we're going to enter into the first part of return. When you get down, you can just be in the river and whatever may take you after them, it is all for us. Let's do this. They tell tell you everything that you're going through, they know about it. That there's always light at the end of the tunnel. They told me to tell you to worry no more and cry no more. Rejoice, because we are
Yes!
Yes,
We're home!
Agua.